What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got some more NBA news to be talking about with you guys. For those of you who haven't heard about this by now, the Philadelphia 76ers have had one of the most roughest playoff appearances ever. In terms of this team should be a team right now that is playing in the Eastern Conference Finals. They literally could even be a finals contender team. Yet they are out of it right now, and one of the main reasons they got, so badly beaten by a Hawks team that only had, really one All-Star and a bunch of very good role players is Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons with this Philadelphia 76ers team does not work. Now, if you guys have been watching my videos since last year, you would know that I was a huge Ben Simmons fan. I thought everything of Ben Simmons. For example, if you don't know what I'm talking about, basically, I honestly thought that Joel Embiid was the problem, and to be honest, I still think last year Joel Embiid was the problem. I think Embiid was, not fit enough. He had a couple of injuries here and there, while Ben Simmons had a really, really underrated season last year, and as soon as Simmons got injured, they, of course, got pretty badly beaten in that playoffs. But then coming into this year, the Ben Simmons from last year, who people seem to forget was actually a solid player, came into this year for some reason being scared to even make common layups, being scared to go for dunks, and being scared to even make a simple post hook, or just a hook in general. Came into this year and did nothing offensively. And this carried on into the playoffs, where he was even worse than what he was in the regular season, where there were times he'd have open layups and would kick it out to a contested player. What is he doing? To make things even weirder is now that Ben Simmons, who was supposed to be a Philadelphia 76ers franchise player, is now going to be most likely getting traded, and there will be a lot of teams I still think will be interested in him. Again, one of the teams that I would very much like to talk about in this video is actually the Golden State Warriors. Now, the Golden State Warriors were extremely interested in Ben Simmons last year. Of course, I'm sure most of you remember the rumors. I believe even Shams reported it at one stage. But I believe, the Golden State Warriors, they were the favorite to get Ben Simmons, especially after Draymond Green had a really, really rough season. Everyone thought they were going to try and move on from Draymond. They were going to bring Ben Simmons potentially in, and Ben Simmons would just be a younger, better, and smarter version than what Draymond Green would be. But now, looking at this point of view in 2021, where I ask myself, should the Golden State Warriors trade for Ben Simmons? I actually will probably say no to that, just because I think Draymond Green is a highly improved player. I think he had a really, really underrated season this year. Yes, he wasn't great offensively, but he was one of the best defenders all year. I believe he made defensive second team. I could be wrong. And again, he averaged 8+ assists per game. He was incredible. He'd literally get you 8 assists per game, 6 to 8 rebounds per game, and then being the best defender on the court per game as well. He could do everything but pretty much score, and that didn't really matter because they had scorers in Kent Bazemore, Andrew Wiggins, and obviously Steph Curry. But now going into next year, I think you keep Draymond Green because of the chemistry that he has with the team. And the fact of matter is, you keep Draymond, he has that great chemistry with the team. And then, of course, you bring back Klay Thompson, who will hopefully be fit and firing. And they might even go out and bring in a dude like Karl Anthony Towns through trade. And then you've got literally 3 elite shooters for Draymond Green to pass to. Well, even 4 if they can get Karl Anthony Towns. Andrew Wiggins, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson are a given. And then you've, of course, got, if they, they are the favorites to get Cat right now. And I believe if D'Lo gets traded, Cat will probably get traded as well. And I believe the Golden State Warriors will try and go in and get Karl Anthony Towns to the team, which means Draymond Green will probably average 11 assists, per game next season. The issue I see with, Ben Simmons comparing him to Draymond Green is that Ben Simmons' assists are empty assists. Draymond Green, his assists come in from him, doing really, really complicated plays. If you watch Draymond Green play, he has an incredible IQ with some smart coaching here and there. He will not just pass the ball off to Steph Curry, but he'll lay a very, very clever screen, work really, really well in tandem with Steph Curry, and then if Steph Curry is moving around, Draymond Green will therefore go and set up a screen for a player like, Andrew Wiggins or Kent Bazemore. Therefore, Andrew Wiggins and Kent Bazemore will not only get an open three, but can potentially reverse it and cut to the rim, and then of course do something pretty special. You've got all of that. Now the issue with Ben Simmons is that he will do this, but once he's done this play, he will just run straight to the box because he can't do anything well. He's not as good as a screen setter as what Draymond Green is. He doesn't seem to have that IQ to set in these, screens that Draymond does. And I think what this kind of comes down to is not just Ben Simmons' IQ, but I think the coaching as well. I think if he had Steve Kerr as his coach, I think things would be, of course, a lot better offensively with him setting screens, etc. And then not just that, Draymond Green, yes, he can't shoot threes, but he still, has an attempt and will get one in every now and then, which means that you can't really leave him open 24/7 on the three-point line, because yes, he might be bad, but if you give him an open three-point line, he'll either shoot it or he'll find a play to pass to, while Ben Simmons will just not even drive, because at this point he is scared to score. He will most likely just pass it off and set a trash screen, and then Steph Curry will still get, a contested three off, and it will probably miss. Again, really, really underrated season from Seth Curry for the Philadelphia 76ers. Ben Simmons wasn't exactly the best screener out there, and he was still able to, score a very, very good amount of points per game. I believe it was 15 or 16. So no, I don't think the Golden State Warriors should be trading for Ben Simmons at all. I think you might as well just go with Draymond Green. The only way I see them going and trading for Ben Simmons is if they do something that would be pretty insane, and that's actually, of course, playing Ben Simmons as a small ball center. I think that would be extremely interesting, because if you had Ben Simmons as a small ball center and you get him into Steve Kerr's lineup, you could say to him, alright, let's focus on your strengths real quick. You are not a good scorer anymore, which we have seen, but you can be an alright playmaker. But the thing is, he is really good defensively, and when he can be, he can still be good next to the rim, being a good offensive player. This is the thing, if you played him at small ball center, and you had Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Andrew Wiggins getting a bunch of different screens from Draymond Green and Ben Simmons, it's going to be really, really hard to guard that, because, Ben Simmons can always become a post player. If he gets under Steve Kerr's coaching, he can always get, nice lobs from Steph or Draymond. That would be really, really interesting to see. I just don't think it would really work, and I don't necessarily know if they would really go about this, because they've already got James Wiseman, and I think if they were going to trade James Wiseman, they'd of course trade him for Karl-Anthony Towns, and I just don't think the Sixers would want James Wiseman, considering they've got Joel Embiid. The only way I could see them taking on Wiseman is if Embiid decides to request a trade for some reason. Of course, the other thing is, though, I think, the Golden State Warriors would be interesting, but I think the team that Ben Simmons should actually be traded to, should actually be the Sacramento Kings. Of course, I'd probably go more into depth on this in another video, but Sacramento's Marvin Bagley really wants to leave, apparently. Apparently, his parents want him out too. He'll probably leave, in free agency, because, or they probably not in free agency, they'll probably accept his team option and just trade him off for a couple seconds or something. Or you probably actually get more than that, probably a protected first and a good role player. Because Marvin Bagley is still young and he is averaging about 15 points per game. It's just his defense and spacing is pretty inconsistent. But I think the thing is, though, once Marvin Bagley leaves, they're going to need a power forward desperately. And I think, when was the last time Sacramento had 2 stars on their roster? If you could bring in Ben Simmons, I think that would be really good. Because even though De'Aaron Fox isn't exactly the greatest off-ball player, I still think you kind of make an exception, to have both of them, kind of play together. Because, look, here's the thing. You lose Marvin Bagley. Apparently, they're going to be losing Rashawn Holmes. Apparently, he's going to be leaving. And then, of course, you will probably lose Buddy Hield and someone else in the trade. And Buddy Hield has been wanting to go for a long time too. And I think Buddy Hield will be cool for the Sixers because he comes in and helps out the spacing. I think what kind of happens from here is, of course, they bring in Ben Simmons. And I wouldn't be surprised if Ben Simmons played a lot of small ball center on the Sacramento Kings team. But I think if players see that the Sacramento Kings have Simmons and Fox, that might be one of the most underrated duos in the league, and I think both would be pretty good with each other. I think how you kind of handle this is if you're Sacramento, you do probably still go out and get a center. Who that would be, I'm not exactly too sure. I think they'll have probably not exactly that much cap, but I'm sure they can try and work something out. Then you go out and get a bunch of shooters. I'm sure there'll be a lot of shooters that want to come to Sacramento, to play with Simmons and Fox. And then I think you'd have a really, really nice team. Like, you could be looking at Fox at point guard, a shooter at shooting guard. Not too sure who would that would be. Like, a Seth Curry type dude. Who even knows who it would be? Harrison Barnes a small forward, Ben Simmons a power forward, and then of course, a random, probably veteran center. And then off the bench, you'd have a pretty nice bench too, like Tyrese Halliburton would come off the bench still to long right. Terrence Davis, maybe Hassan Whiteside, Lewis King would be a pretty interesting kind of team in my opinion. But of course, I'd very much like to hear all of your thoughts and opinions on this down below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for the latest, NBA content and NBA news. Of course, don't forget to subscribe to my gaming channel and my IRL/long channels. And don't forget to check out my podcast as well if you haven't already, which I will link in the description down below. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.